Difficult times inspire creative minds, spurring innovation, which can be advanced by connecting with the right people. Seeing your dreams to reality is never an easy feat, but if you stay positive and focused to achieve the goals you set, odds are you'll succeed. Hello and welcome, I am Theodore Henry. Thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine. On today's pages, striving for energy security and lower energy costs, a timely update as the drive continues. Plus, healthy eating for a healthy heart and a healthier you. And later, I look at some of the lucrative and flavorful spices that can sweeten any agribusiness venture. You're going to want to take notes, so stay put. Jamaica Magazine unfolds right now.
The Mapping Jamaica's Diaspora Project, building a database on the human, financial and technological resources of Jamaicans abroad, helping government to connect with Jamaicans in the diaspora for mutual development. Jamaicans living overseas are encouraged to sign up now. Spread the word to family and friends abroad. To take the survey, visit mapjadiaspora.iom.int. Information shared will be kept strictly confidential. Let's work together for our mutual growth and prosperity.
Jamaica depends a whole lot on expensive imported fossil fuel like oil to power the country. Now, to save money, government has been trying to find other renewable energy sources and reduce our dependence on oil. It's all part of a bigger plan to improve energy security and lower costs in the long run. This work continues as we speak. Take a look at this feature for an update.
Government is working on a project to add 78 megawatts of renewable energy to the national grid and another project to produce 380 megawatts of new baseload generation capacity. The objective? Getting energy costs down and diversifying the country's energy sources to help achieve strategic priority number 1, fiscal prudence and pursuit of a credible macroeconomic program.
The government has adopted a strategy which centers on diversifying our country's energy sources. This is where renewable energy has a big role to play, and this is why the government is now taking decisive steps to utilize homogeneous resources and natural assets as alternatives to imported fuel.
And by mid-2016, Jamaica is expected to start seeing a reduction in its purchasing of oil. This will be as a result of the 78 megawatt renewable project coming on stream. The $196 million project includes the construction of 1 solar and 2 wind energy plants. With Blue Mountain Renewables in St. Elizabeth to provide 34 megawatts to the national grid, the reduction in oil importation for the country is estimated between 250,000 and 300,000 barrels per day. Additional savings is expected from expansion of the Wigton wind farm. Approximately 214 million Jamaican dollars will be saved as oil purchase will be reduced by more than 37,000 barrels per year. A similar trend is expected from the solar plant to be constructed in Clarendon as government pursues its target of producing 20% of the country's energy from renewables by 2030.
We believe that we can expand that ambition very shortly to 30%, but the initial ambition is to achieve 20%.
In the meantime, several jobs are being created, more homes and businesses are connecting to the grid, and the flow of commercial activity is increasing, all contributing to growth.
The Ministry of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining is committed to creating jobs, attracting investment, and providing economic opportunities for Jamaicans.
Already 125 jobs have been activated following groundbreaking for construction of the Wigton 24 megawatt plant. Blue Mountain Renewables followed suit on February 25 and will make 215 jobs available during construction, with employment of a similar number upon completion of its project.
It makes sense to do the investment. And so, in relation to renewables, we're on a path and there's no turning back.
As it moves to create a credible macroeconomic program, government is also pushing to have new energy-efficient gas power plants built on the island. $15 million is being spent to convert the Jamaica Public Service Company's Bogue plant feedstock from automotive diesel oil to gas.
Bogue currently uses very expensive automotive diesel oil. That's what goes to the burners to drive the engines. When we did the analysis on the cost of the heavy fuel and against the cost of gas, it was a low-hanging fruit to immediately bring some benefits to the consumer. Because the conversion from fuel oil to gas made it very, very important and useful to lower the cost to the consumer.
Conversion is to be completed by the end of 2015. Alongside this, JPS is to replace 292 megawatts of obsolete equipment at its Old Harbour plant by constructing a 190 megawatt gas turbine cogeneration plant at the same location.
These are very critical because we have 292 megawatts of obsolete capacity which will begin to drop out of the grid in a couple of years, by 2017, and we have no plan to not achieve our objective, because otherwise we think it could be quite devastating for the economy.
And a second gas turbine cogeneration plant is to be constructed, this time by Alpart, to provide an additional 140 megawatts to the grid. The agreed power tariff by Alpart is for not more than 12.99 US cents per kilowatt hour, while JPS has agreed to 12.89 US cents per kilowatt hour.
We are
the final price to the consumer.
We are still aiming on that benchmark, 30% reduction, and we're expecting that instead of the 40 cents, US 40 cents that it was costing, it will be more down in the range of somewhere between 26 to 27 cents. That's what we are expecting, and these prices will achieve that. That's our target for 2018.
The combined 330 megawatts to the national grid by JPSCO and Alpart is part of the 380 megawatt new baseload electricity supply for the country, which was approved by Cabinet in January. Work is scheduled to begin this year. The project's mandate is to improve efficiency of power plants with new equipment and reduce the cost of fuel by using gas instead of heavy fuel oil. The project will also facilitate business operation, as Alpart will use steam from its cogeneration plant to facilitate bauxite production. So the government is actively pursuing programs to reduce energy costs in Jamaica. The end result is to boost production, reduce the cost of products on the market, and drive economic growth.
Know your numbers and control the keys to a healthier heart. Know the numbers for your blood pressure, cholesterol level, blood glucose level, and your weight and body mass index. Find out the risks they represent and what you need to do to stay healthy. Talk to your doctor and start making healthy lifestyle choices to prevent a heart attack or stroke.
Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in Jamaica, but it can be avoided so more people can live longer. How? By simply cutting out unhealthy foods from your diet. Now, believe it or not, this is a major cause of several non-communicable diseases which affect the heart. So we're encouraging you to make healthy food and lifestyle choices. Give yourself a fighting chance.
According to medical experts, heart failure is a progressive condition in which the heart muscle has been damaged by disease or injury and cannot pump enough blood and oxygen to the body.
Blood goes into the right side of the heart from the body, and the right side of the heart pumps it into the lungs. And if the right side of the heart has failed to do this properly, it is called right-sided heart failure. The blood leaves the lungs and goes into the left side of the heart, and the left side of the heart then pumps the blood to the rest of the body. And if, in fact, the left side of the heart is not doing this efficiently, left-sided heart failure occurs. And quite often, both left and right sides of the heart have failed in such a case, and so we call that congestive heart failure.
The term congestive heart failure is often used to describe all patients with heart failure. Dr. Hagley said, in reality, congestion, that is, buildup of fluid, is just one of the features of the condition and does not occur in all patients. He said there are a number of diseases that affect the heart that could result in heart failure. These, he said, vary with age and family history.
Some children are born with heart disease, and we call that congenital heart disease. One of the most common causes of congenital heart disease is German measles. And a number of the children who were born with conditions like hole in the heart, for instance, were due to the fact that the mother had German measles at the time that the organs in the fetus were developing. So the development of the heart was affected. Then we go on to the older children. And in the children, usually from 5 to 12, 15, but it may occur at earlier age, is a condition called rheumatic heart disease. This is really a manifestation of rheumatic fever, which occurs predominantly in children with fever, and it presents with fever and pains in the joints, and in such a case, the heart may be affected. We see this among children, even new cases. And it is rheumatic heart disease is in fact still one of the major causes of cardiac surgery that we see here.
Dr. Hagley said in the older age group, heart failure does not happen in a vacuum. It is closely associated with major risk factors.
We look at things like high blood pressure, which may begin to appear usually in the 30s, sometimes early on. But long-standing high blood pressure will lead to heart disease, because high blood pressure, in addition to the fact that it gives the left side of the heart extra work to do, and so the heart muscle will become enlarged, as you would expect. But in addition to that, the high blood pressure causes certain changes in the arteries which carry the blood to the tissues. And the result of those changes really is a narrowing of the channel to the arteries, and that includes the arteries which are carrying blood to the heart muscle. The other major cause of heart disease in adults in today's world is a condition called coronary heart disease. That is the disease that leads to heart attacks, for instance. Everybody knows about heart attacks. Well, the changes which occur in this condition are the changes that are different from high blood pressure, in that the changes occur on the lining of the arteries, as you see here. And eventually, those changes lead to narrowing of the vessels and then inadequate blood flow. If that vessel becomes blocked, a heart attack will occur. And of course, the heart, part of the heart muscle which was dependent on that blood flow will be affected. Sometimes it may be a much more insidious process that the individual may not recall having a heart attack in a sense, but over the years, the channels become so narrow that the blood flow throughout is reduced, so the heart as a whole suffers from this, and they go into heart failure eventually.
Patients can minimize the effect of heart failure by controlling the risk factors for heart disease. Obvious steps include quitting smoking, losing weight if necessary, abstaining from alcohol, making dietary changes by reducing the amount of salt and fat consumed, and exercising regularly is also helpful for many patients, but a doctor should carefully recommend the amount and intensity. Causes of heart diseases that could lead to heart failure are high cholesterol levels, high blood pressure, diabetes and abnormal blood sugar levels, obesity, and smoking. Remember that it is never too late to reduce your risk of developing heart failure and other heart-related diseases. But the time to act is now.
nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Jamaican spices are said to be among the best in the world, full of flavor and of the highest quality. And with the current demand in the local and international markets, government has recognized that this is an area ripe for investment to create jobs and wealth to grow the economy.
Daylight come and me want go home. Work all night.
From jerk to curry recipes, Jamaican cooking is all about the spices, sourced right on the island. With the support of the state entity responsible for managing all things agricultural, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, Jamaica's spice producers are on the verge of stamping a bolder mark on the competitive international industry, with many programs unfurling to increase the production of traditional spices like ginger, turmeric, nutmeg and pimento, and non-traditional spices such as hot peppers and onion. And the possibilities are bountiful. Take ginger and turmeric, for example. Both grow with relative ease almost anywhere on the island. In fact, travel to some places in Jamaica and you can find turmeric growing wild, unfettered by any environmental condition that could stunt its growth. Whether for use as a condiment, for its healing properties, or simply for coloring, consumers worldwide can't seem to get enough turmeric. Global trade in turmeric has been trending up, and so have prices. As for Jamaican ginger, it has long been considered among, if not the best in the world. Current global demand for Jamaican ginger is estimated at 21,000 metric tons in its fresh form and 4,200 tons dried, and there's room for growth. Jamaica is a tiny giant in the world of agro-processed foods. Island producers are dishing out big, unique flavors, employing ingenuity and utilizing the support of state agencies to steadily eke out more of the international market for these goods. Jamaican companies like Central Food Packers are making a mark on this agricultural offshoot, exporting quality canned, bottled and baked foods to markets in North America, the United Kingdom, Canada and the Caribbean. Included in the mix are mild to spicy hot sauces, jams and jellies, a must if you want to proclaim your Jamaicanness. Ackee, delivered to you in a can, and for a bit of green delight, callaloo canned in brine. Then there are some unique Jamaican spreads for your breads and biscuits, like a dab of Solomon Gundy, or a spoonful of delicious mango, sorrel or tamarind chutney. And let's not forget the roots wines. Jamaica's value-added agro-processors are engaged in other sweet pursuits. Companies like Honeykiss are churning out all-natural honey confections. As they'll tell you, and you can taste for yourself, pure Jamaican wildflower honey is infused with just a choops of natural unique fruits, vegetables and spices, ginger, Blue Mountain coffee, pimento, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper. Sweet, aromatic, rich, strong are entirely inadequate labels. Have a taste of authentic Jamaican honey, and what you'll get is a pure, honest flavor, aroma and taste, and medicinal benefits that make healthy living absolutely enticing.
Maranatha Music Program Ministry presents Men in Praise on Sunday, March 29 at the Maranatha Gospel Hall, 7 Deanery Road, Kingston 16. Starting time 6 p.m. Come join in the praise. The Education Department of the Kentcott Seventh-day Adventist Church, in partnership with the Aeolians of the Oakwood University of Huntsville, Alabama, USA, presents a benefit concert on February 28 at the Northern Caribbean University. Starting time is 7:30 p.m. The concert will also be held on March 7 at the Carl Hendrickson Auditorium, Jamaica College, starting at 8 p.m. The event will be held under the distinguished patronage of the President of the Jamaican Senate, Senator Floyd Morris. The Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, is now accepting entries for the 2015 Jamaica Creative Writing Competition. Professional and amateur writers are to submit their entries in 3 classes: junior, under 12, intermediate, under 17, and adult age 18 and older in areas such as poems, essays, short stories, plays, and novels. Entry forms are available at the JCDC website www.jcdc.gov.jm, at its head office 3 to 5 Phoenix Avenue, Kingston 10, and all JCDC parish offices island-wide. Entries must be sent via email to library@jcdcj.gov.jm. Then 3 hard copies along with the completed entry form are to be submitted to any JCDC office. The deadline for entry is Thursday, April 30, 2015. The Arden High School PTA is inviting you to its fundraising benefit performance of the play Old Fire Stick. The play will be held on Saturday, March 7 at the Theatre Place, 8 Haining Road, New Kingston, starting at 8 p.m. Come out and support this worthy cause. Call 978-1112 for tickets and email ardenhighschoolpta@yahoo.com. And that's it for our community notices today. Send us your events for broadcast on the JIS Community Notice Board. Call 922-868-022 or send an email to cbishop@jis.gov.jm.
Our top stories of the week are next.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. On Wednesday, head of the IMF mission to Jamaica, Yan Keys Martin, and Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips announced that Jamaica had passed its 7th straight IMF quarterly test under the Extended Fund Facility. If the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund accepts the mission's findings later this month, the country will receive $40 million more under the EFF. In the meantime, both the IMF mission to Jamaica and the Finance Minister are expecting the Jamaican economy to rebound in this quarter, following 0.3% contraction in the October to December 2014 period.
Growing confidence and improving competitiveness are projected to stimulate demand and increase economic activity to just over 2% in 2015-16.
We believe that the growth momentum has been revived in the current quarter, and going forward, we certainly look forward to that momentum being strengthened. But we have agreed that this is a matter to be kept under discussion.
Meanwhile, Chief Economist at the Ministry of Finance and Planning, Everton McFarlane, says the 2015-2016 estimates of expenditure is a growth-supporting budget. Mr. McFarlane points to the increase in capital expenditure and spending on social programs in this year's budget as measures that will help to spur growth in the economy.
Typically, a growth supporting budget or a growth supporting fiscal adjustment would tend to, over time, want to allocate relatively more resources to productive government expenditure.
Government is aggressively pressing ahead with plans to reduce the country's dependence on fossil fuel with the expansion of the Wigton wind farm. Energy Minister Philip Paulwell recently broke ground for the 24-megawatt plant in Manchester, which he said would help Jamaica cut back on the cost of importing oil and help the country earn money.
This is a profitable government venture. This year we're earning $500 million in the operations here at Wigton. And this is before Wigton 3.
Meanwhile, the Energy Minister this week refuted public reports that government was about to divest its shares in the state-run oil refinery Petrojam. Minister Paulwell released a statement saying no such decision had been made. He added that if and when an offer was received, the process would be subject to the oversight of the Contractor General and the Government's Contracts Committee, consistent with the divestment of public assets. The House of Representatives has passed legislation to decriminalize the possession of small quantities of ganja and its use for medicinal, therapeutic, religious, and scientific purposes.
It begins to correct decades of criminalizing tens of thousands of Jamaicans, mostly poor young black males, for possession of a spliff. This progressive legislation also begins to correct the victimization of our Rastafarian brethren, which started in colonial times and continued after independence.
The amended Dangerous Drugs Act makes the possession of 2 ounces or less of ganja a non-arrestable offense that will instead result in a ticketable infraction that does not lead to a criminal record. The amendment also permits the use of ganja for religious, medical, scientific, and therapeutic purposes. And it provides for the creation of a cannabis licensing authority to regulate the proposed hemp and medicinal ganja industry in Jamaica. Education Minister Reverend Ronald Thwaites also addressed Parliament on Tuesday, announcing plans to stop the practice of schools buying student athletes. He said a policy framework for the transfer of student athletes had been developed with the support of the Inter-Secondary Schools Sports Association, ISA.
The ministry is not against a parent wanting to place a child in a school that has a sports co-curricular program that can enhance his or her career goals. However, we are insisting that this must not be done for monetary gain and to the detriment of the child's education.
The Ministry of Health has stepped up border control and activated a system to trace possible contacts of infected persons in response to the continued measles outbreak in the United States.
We have had to implement the system in the recent past, so we have the experience with dealing with imported cases of measles. And to say we are aware that because we have no local transmission, it would have to be an imported case that we would be dealing with.
All health facilities type 3 and above have also been designated vaccination sites for parents to get their children fully immunized under the ministry's 12-week measles prevention campaign for children between ages 1 and 6 years old. Parents need to take along the children's immunization cards or health development passports Mondays to Fridays during normal working hours.
Once they take those, the public health team, which is usually either the public health nurse or the midwife within the clinic, would check, see what vaccines the child would be eligible for, and administer same.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller is encouraging Caribbean leaders to maximize the creative talents within the region to advance economic development. Mrs. Simpson Miller was addressing the 26th intersessional meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government in Nassau, Bahamas on Thursday. The Prime Minister advocated for the speedy advancement of the draft Regional Development Strategy and Action Plan for the cultural industries. She encouraged her CARICOM counterparts to seize the opportunity to ensure that the action plan is advanced so it can come before CARICOM heads for approval. The draft strategy aims to grow the creative economy by building more globally competitive cultural industries to create jobs and to better manage culture so the region reaps more benefits. And those are some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
That brings us to the end of today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. But we want you to keep the link, so hit us up on Twitter at JIS News and visit our website jis.gov.jm for the very latest government information. You may also send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. I'm Theodore Henry. Join us again tomorrow. Until then, take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.